Hello everyone and welcome to the Year 6 Transition Information for Parents video. In normal times we would normally host a Parents Information evening, but current government guidelines and restrictions prevent us doing this. We understand as well as the students how daunting and nerve-wracking it can be for you as parents as well. And so we hope that this short video helps to answer some of your questions. Okay, so the first thing that you will be wanting to know about is the transition day, which we have hopefully got planned for the 12th and 13th of July. So the way that's going to work this year, the following feeder schools, so Bolsover, COV and New Bolsover, will come up and attend their transition day on the 12th of July. All other primary school students will then have their transition day on the following day, so on the 13th of July. And the reason for this is simply to limit the numbers of Year 6 students on the school site in terms of social distancing. It just makes managing the numbers a little easier. You will receive an email with more information, and you need to use the link on this email to complete the online consent form and registration form, which will be via Microsoft Forms. However, please note that any face-to-face transition really is subject to the government guidance and what restrictions are in place. So whilst we have got plans in the background regarding this on these 2 days, as just explained, it may be that as government guidelines change and restrictions aren't eased as quickly as we would like, there may be some changes to how we do transition. But any changes we will communicate to you as soon as possible. Okay, so you're probably wondering about homework as well. And homework is something that's obviously very different at secondary school compared to how it is perhaps at primary school. So we use an online program called Show My Homework, and the app is and the website is called Satchel One. So Satchel One is the company that runs the program Show My Homework. So the first thing to do really is to download the app ready for September. The homework set will cover a variety of tasks, and it can be completed in a variety of different ways. We expect students to complete homework, and failure to complete homework will result in a sanction, whether that's a behaviour point initially. For repeat offenders, it may be that students are placed in detention, or there may well be some parental contact and sort of informing you as well to get your support with that as well. So we do expect our students to complete the homework. It's not an optional thing. So therefore, your support really is vital to make sure that students maximise any opportunity to learn and make progress. Good routines and habits at home will help as well. So supporting your child to have a set time where they do their homework every evening, even if it's just for half an hour, at the same time, getting into that routine and then positive habits will help. Okay, wanted to talk to you about personal development and relationships and sex education. So as students move from primary to secondary school, these are perhaps some of the things that as a parent you might want a little bit more information on, and this is how we deliver these two topics at the Bolsover School. So they are a compulsory aspect of every student's education, and they're completed during the tutorial system. So your child will be placed into a tutor group, and that's where these two areas are delivered by the form tutor. So it's the form tutor who delivers these. That's the person who your child will see every single day. You'll receive a letter in September with more information, and it will cover 4 key aspects. So relationships, living in modern Britain, living in the wider world, and health and well-being. And it aims to prepare students for their changing lives throughout school and for when they leave school and head out into the wider world. Okay, trips. So a little bit about trips. Obviously, the last 12 to 18 months, there have been no trips for obvious reasons. So all educational visits at the minute have been suspended due to the pandemic. And this goes for all schools across the country. They're all in a very similar situation. So as restrictions are lifted, we hope to reintroduce UK residential visits for 2022. And then we're hoping to run some overseas residential visits for 2023. So it is a long process to get back to where we were before the pandemic. However, as I'm sure you appreciate, student health and safety, is paramount, and that will always take priority. So these things will be, we will start to run these visits. However, it will be done in a very cautious approach. So some of the trips that we've done in the past. So before they were suspended for the past 3 or 4 years, we've ran trips to all of these different places and given students lots of different experiences in terms of experiencing different countries and cultures. But in addition to the overseas residentials as well, we run them within the UK, the ones that are a little bit more affordable. Okay, so the refectory. So what happens at break and lunch? So students enter in a year group rota system. So on a Monday, for example, it might be the year 7s that go in first, followed by year 8s, 9s, 10s and 11s. And then the next day on a Tuesday, it's another year group that goes in first, and so on. And that rota system ensures a fair approach. Every year group gets an opportunity to go in first, second, third, fourth and fifth. Okay, so we run a policy at the school where every student's issued with an expected standards card. It's just a little card that they keep on them, and they should have that on them at all times, and they're checked in lessons and by form tutors. And whenever students have perhaps done something, I guess you could call it minor, that's incorrect. It might be missing a little bit of equipment, or they might be slightly late for a lesson, or they might, have their shirt untucked or have the sort of sleeves pulled up, something to do with the uniform. They get their card marked. Now, the reason why I'm talking to you about this with regards to the refectory is because students who have a clean card, if you like, who don't get that card marked, after every term, they get a different coloured expected standards card, and that different coloured card will give your child the privilege of being able to go into the refectory first before any of the other year groups. So we'd very much like it, if all students got that different coloured card, because it'd mean that they're all doing what we want them to do on a daily basis. So just something, a little bit of a heads up there, that students who do behave and follow instructions and follow the rules and do the right thing, they will get that privilege of going in to break and lunch before anybody else. Hot food is served at both break and lunch, and there is a daily spend limit of around £4. So you can put money on your child's account using the Parent Pay app, which we would encourage you to download. However, there is a daily spend limit. It basically prevents students spending £10, and spending their weekly amount in the first day. Okay, so some of the examples of foods that are served: jacket potatoes, pizza, pasta, paninis, sandwiches, baguettes, salads, and then we do theme days. So it might be that one particular day there's some Mexican dishes, Italian, British, American, Indian. So In addition to your sort of daily standard types of food, such as jacket potatoes, pizza, pasta, etc., there are also theme days as well. And this is just an example of one of the weeks quite recently, what options were available. So you can see on there on Tuesday, there was an Italian theme, and then on the Friday it's always a British theme, and students can get some fish. So just an example there of some of the foods that we serve. Okay, moving on then. So to the curriculum. What is our approach at the Bolsover School? We aim to create subject experts and not just test passers. So, we're aware that some schools will put a big emphasis on, teaching to the test, if that's a phrase that you've heard before. We're firmly against that. We don't believe in that. We want to create subject experts who love the subject for what it is, not simply because they can pass a particular test. We want them to become as knowledgeable as possible. And we recognise that a young person's worth cannot be calculated by a test paper. A young person, a student, is so much more than simply a number that they've got in a particular test. We believe that knowledge is powerful and limitless, so we teach a knowledge-rich curriculum. We believe that giving students knowledge is the best thing we can do. They can then use that knowledge in lots of different ways. Our curriculum is very oracy and literacy focused. And if you would like some more information, all subject curriculum maps can be found on the website in the students section, and then by going to curriculum. So in theory, you can actually track what your student would learn term by term from the start of year 7 all the way through to the end of year 11 in each and every subject. So just to give you an example, this is what you would see for geography in year 7. So you can see exactly what is taught to the students term by term in terms of topics and knowledge and skills and any assessments that will take place. So really useful for you to sort of have an understanding of the things that your child will be covering during year 7. Okay, curriculum plus. So I've just spoke about the curriculum, but we do believe student life should be much more than simply attending lessons from 8:30 till 5 to 3. We want young people to experience as many enrichment opportunities as possible, and so therefore curriculum plus activities, we organise them to take place throughout the day, and they can take place at break, at lunch. Generally, the most popular ones tend to occur after school, and they always finish at 4 p.m. All curriculum plus activities are free of charge. We do not charge for any of those whatsoever. And a late bus is provided on Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays for any students who would normally get a bus home. And the late bus will do various drops in the different villages. So that late bus, depending on who's booked onto that, might go on a different route every day, but it will always ensure the students are dropped off in their home villages. Some examples of some of the Curriculum Plus clubs we've been able to run this year and in previous years. So obviously lots of different sports clubs. There's a Young Engineers Club, lots of music lessons. The science department run a Bolsover Space programme. We just have the standard homework club, which is quite useful for students to stay behind and get their homework done before being able to go home and not have to worry about it. Drama groups. There was even an Egyptology club, which sounds really, really interesting. So a big variety of different curriculum plus activities the students can get involved in. And more details can be found on the website. So go to the student section and then click on Curriculum Plus. Okay, so our house system and pastoral care. So your child will be allocated to one of 5 houses. Siblings are placed in the same house. So if you already have a child at the Bolsover School, your Year 6 child who's coming up will be placed in the same house. And the reason for that means when it comes to pastoral issues, you've just got one member of staff to contact. So one head of house rather than having different heads of house. If you've got 2 or 3 children at the school and you have 2 or 3 heads of house who you need to contact, it can get a little bit messy. So it's designed to make things easier for yourselves. And we run a vertical tutor group system. We haven't done this year because of the restrictions with the pandemic and being unable to mix year groups, and they've been in their separate bubbles. But in normal times, we run vertical tutor groups which contain a mix of years 7 to 11. So there may be 4 or 5 year 7 students, 4 or 5 year 8 students, and so on. And we believe in the power of community and feeling part of a team. So we want your child to feel proud to represent the school. We want them to feel proud to represent their house and their tutor group as well. So we organise many opportunities for them to represent their house and their tutor group. That might be in extracurricular sport, or it might be simply in maths and science and languages challenges that we run during the tutorial sessions, where they can earn house points and achievement points for their house and for themselves as well. We have a very strong pastoral system. We understand the unique challenge of working with over 800 human beings every day and 800 different sets of emotions all in one building. So it is really important that we do have a strong pastoral system where students can feel cared for. They can feel like they've got members of staff and adults who they can talk to if they've got a problem. Okay, so the 5 houses. We have Arkwright, and the head of house is Mr. Squires. We have Bainbridge. The head of house is currently Mr. Pemberton, who's covering for Mrs. Line, who's currently on maternity leave. We've got Hardwick with the head of house, Miss Christian. Nightingale, which is led by Miss Owen. And then finally, Peveril, led by Mr. Robinson. Okay, lockers. So we do have lockers in school, and they're situated in each block. There are not enough for every student. However, if your child does want one and would like a locker and would think a locker would find that beneficial, then there is a good chance that they would be able to get a locker, because whilst there are not enough for every student, not every student feels like they need a locker. You'd need to pay a £5 deposit, which you will get back at the end of the 5 years, or if your child decides they don't want their locker anymore, by returning the key, they'd get their £5 deposit returned to them, and it can be used to store extra equipment, PE kit, books, folders, food technology equipment if required, for example. So can be very, very useful. And if you feel like one of these would be beneficial to your child, ask them to inquire at Student Services during their first week in September. Okay, on to uniform. So our school ethos and values means we strongly believe in the advantages of a smart school uniform policy. We believe it creates a feeling of community. It reduces bullying because students aren't competing and comparing who's got the latest trainers or the latest trends. So it sort of takes away that issue of bullying based on clothes that students are wearing, because they're all wearing the same. It increases safety. So on school trips, they can be easily identified, or just out in the community to and from school, members of the community can clearly identify students as belonging to a particular school. It prepares students for the outside world and for employment, because most jobs will have some form of uniform. And if they haven't got some form of strict uniform, there will certainly be a dress code for most jobs. So it's all about preparing the students for the outside world. And then finally, we also believe it improves study ethic and therefore learning. Students will be monitored and they will be challenged every lesson of every day regarding their uniform and whether they're wearing the correct uniform, but wearing the correct uniform smartly. So they will be challenged if their shirt is untucked, for example. They may feel that's a little bit harsh and a little bit picky, but we've got high standards. Our strapline is nothing but the best. And clearly if we accept students walking about in trainers and the shirt's untucked and not wearing a tie, that's not nothing but the best. The full details and policy can be found on our website, but just a few of the common errors. So when students aren't in the correct uniform, these tend to be the most common, not reasons as such, but the most common times or things that aren't correct. So black trainers are not permitted, must be black shoes. No black jeans or leggings. No skinny fit trousers. Hoodies and sweaters are not permitted. And sometimes when you're speaking to the students, they'll say, but I'm cold or it's raining. Well, certainly if it's raining, my recommendation is a coat, because actually hoodies and sweaters don't really offer you any protection from the rain. But in terms of the sort of warmth, there is the option of an optional black V-neck jumper that students can wear rather than the hoodies and the sweaters. No facial jewellery. Unnaturally coloured hair is not permitted. And so you're probably wondering how to order your child's uniform. This is one of the most common questions we do get from parents at this time of year. So uniform is ordered online and the link is on our website. There is free home delivery until mid-June, so getting your order in as soon as possible might mean you can get that free home delivery. But then after that, it will either be free collection from school or you can pay for home delivery. On the order form, if you simply put new student, the correct tie will be sent once your child is allocated to a house. So students will wear a different coloured tie depending on which house they're in. So for example, students in Arkwright House will wear a tie with a thin blue stripe through it. Any returns to be sent back via school. So any returns go to school and we'll send them back to the company who provide our school uniform. And anyone who is unable to pay online can bring a sealed envelope into school containing the funds and order form. Okay, so times of the school day. These have been slightly different this year. We've had to run a slightly different timetable with different times because we've had to stagger breaks and lunches to keep the year groups separate. But hopefully, fingers crossed, back to normality in September. So our normal school day will run as follows. So students are expected to be on school site ready for 8:30. So not walking into school at 8:30. Period 1 starts at 8:30. So students, would expect to be on school site, at the bare minimum 5 to 10 minutes before this. So period 1, 8:30 till 9:30, followed by period 2 until 10:30. There's then a 20-minute break, which is then followed by a 30-minute tutorial period. We then have period 3 until 20 past 12. We have a 35-minute lunch, followed by 2 final 1-hour periods, taking us up to the end of the day at 5 to 3. Students are expected to be punctual for all lessons. We take punctuality quite seriously. It's very important that students are in the classroom and maximising every single minute of learning. So students are expected to be punctual for all lessons. Okay, so just a little map of the school, and it's just useful to show this because, you know, a common worry and fear for year 6 students and their parents, to be fair, is their student getting lost in a much bigger building that they're going to compared to their primary school. And actually, I think our school is one of the easiest to find your way around. It's in an L shape, which makes it easy, so there's not lots of different little blocks everywhere. You've got a ground floor and a first floor, and it's just split into coloured blocks where certain lessons occur. And eventually, after the first week, I can assure you that your child will quickly learn that whenever they've got English, for example, that's in the yellow block. So even if they, you know, they can't locate the exact classroom, they know which block to go to, and they just simply need to go to that block, and there'll always be staff around who can direct them to the correct classroom. Our classrooms are numbered and lettered, so it starts with the first letter of the colour. So for example, the purple block starts with a P. It's then followed with either a G for ground floor or an F for first floor, and then a number. So for example, PG4 is purple block, ground floor, classroom 4. Okay, so I would highly recommend that you spend a bit of time getting used to the website, because it really is the source of all information. Everything I've gone through so far in this video, you can find on the website with more details. Okay, so that's something I would really recommend, and you just explore the website and have a look at all the different information on there. Any transition information can be found by going to our school and then clicking on admissions, and there's a transition section where we'll post any news or information. So the website split up into the following sections. So there's an Our School section, and that's where you can find various documents, policies, information about our values and the ethos of the school. There's a Parents section, so you can find information about school uniform, school meals, Parent Pay, which is an app where you can pay for various things and put money on your child's account for break and lunch. And School Gateway as well. That's another app that you'll need to download, and again, that's where you can find out various bits of information about the school. There's a student section which gives you information about the curriculum, Curriculum Plus, and Pastoral information. And then there is a news and events section which has the school calendar on, so that gives you details of any inset days and holidays, and if you're not sure, you know, if it's an inset day or not, that will be posted on there and you can see that information. The newsletters, you'll get a hard copy of those anyway, but electronic copies are available to download as well, and it will allow you to keep up to date with the latest news coming from the school. And the Contact Us section, that's a really good section, as that has all members of staff contact details. So if you need to speak to a particular member of staff, it might be a child's head of house or their form tutor, or it might be a specific subject teacher about a particular issue, you can find that information on the website. Okay, so thank you for listening. I hope this short video has helped to answer some of your questions. I certainly haven't been able to go through everything, but like I said previously, definitely have a look through the website, have a look at the information on there, and that might help to answer some questions that you've got as well. Anything else, any other questions or queries regarding transition, please do not hesitate to contact me by dropping me an email using my email address that you can see on the screen now. For any queries regarding special educational needs, please contact Mrs. Spence. So, thank you for listening, and I hope to see you all very soon.